So these are the 5 things that I don't like about my Mini Cooper Countryman. Number 1, reliability. Reliability is the biggest thing that you should be looking at when you're going to buy a used car. Now obviously you're going to buy this used because you won't get this new anymore, since this is a 2015. This generation of Countryman, I believe it ended in 2019. I could be mistaken. I have not Googled it. You guys can go ahead and Google it. But if you're going to look at this generation, reliability is one thing that you will consider. That also goes for the R56, 55, 57, 60, and 61. They all have an N engine. Now it came in multiple classifications. There was a turbo model and a non-turbo model. The base is horrible. You can Google, I believe it's called an N12. I've never had a base Mini and I would never buy a base Mini. But if you did go buy one, you can go ahead and Google it. I believe it's N12 and it's a bad engine. Stay away from it. There are also 2 other engines, and the Cooper S comes with one of 2. If you get anything below the F-Series car, you will either get an N14 or you will get an N18. Depending on your model year, will depend on what engine you get. This car has the N18, which is a caveat to this downside. The N14 is also very bad. I don't know what Mini did, but you can just go ahead and look it up. All over the forums, people talk about their Minis being unreliable and just overall bad, and that is because of the engine. The N14 just has everything ranging from oil issues to timing issues. The biggest thing though is the guide for the chain tensioner. It's within the engine and they tend to fail. Luckily for me, hopefully for me, knock on plastic, mine will never fail because I have an upgraded model. This is the N18 engine, and so far this car has been absolutely good to me. With the exception of one thing, I did have my, well, a couple things actually. When I first purchased the car, the throttle body on the back side of the engine, which is where I believe they put the intake manifold, it's all plastic, and my intake manifold and my throttle body were both cracked. Then they replaced it, and then the water pipe that they replaced it with was also cracked. So the plastics on the engine definitely don't hold up to the heat that the engine's putting out. That is also one thing to know. Overheating is a kind of an issue on the older engines. Mini did take some steps to improve cooling when they came up with the N18. Our car engine, the engine can idle at a higher temperature. That is one thing to note. I drove this car from Chicago to California and back, and I did notice my engine temps were in the 215, 220 range, but if you were to Google that, you would find out that within that range is actually overheating for an older Mini. But for this generation, that's perfectly normal. BMW and Mini decided to make that a thing where they can go at a much higher temperature. So that's number 1, is reliability. If you are going to end up, as a disclaimer, if you are going to get a N14, make sure that they've done all the previous maintenance. And just be aware that you might have some problems, you might not. For me, my problems were all covered when I bought the car, so for me, I'm okay with it. But it is something to think about because you may or may not be able to drive the car if you're on a budget. So just keep that in mind. Number two is fuel economy. Fuel economy is not horrible. By no means is this a hybrid, but it is not the greatest. If you're in traffic, you're in a city like this, you are going to have some issues because you're gonna get anywhere from 19 miles per gallon to 22 miles per gallon. It just depends how you drive, how much traffic there is, and just overall it's how you drive, really. Highway though, highways where it gets a little difficult, because if you're in a state where there's not a lot of traffic, unfortunately Chicago, where I'm at, is a lot of traffic all the time. You're gonna get on the highway on a good day about 30 miles per gallon, which is pretty good. That's not bad. But if you're in a place where you have mostly highway roads and it's all high speeds, you can definitely see 35 miles per gallon, which you might be thinking, well, how is that a negative if you're gonna have 35 miles per gallon on the highway? It's not, and that's the thing. This negative is only really a negative depending on if you live in a city, where you live, how you drive. Again, that is also with most cars, is how you drive the car depends on your fuel economy. So just also keep that in mind. Number 3 is that these are kind of a common car, so if you're looking for something that's unique, it's common. That could be a negative, it could be a positive. Me personally, I like unique cars, and this is definitely not the most unique. Although, if you watched my previous video, which I'll link over here or somewhere around this video, in the card over there. The tunability of the car also goes into the customization. So there's a lot of aftermarket parts you can buy to make the car look different. And I'm really, that's a good thing, but in this video we're talking about the bad things. Overall, it's really hard for me to pick at straws to find 5 bad things about the Countryman, because overall it is a very good car. If this was a regular Mini, I would complain about its size, but if you know what you're getting when you buy this. So this really is a video with only 3, maybe 4 bad things. That 4th bad thing would be interior quality and road noise. Really the negative is the road noise. You can't really, maybe you can hear it across the video, but there's a lot of engine noise. I have a catless downpipe, so the engine's a little louder. But even prior to getting that downpipe, you could definitely hear the engine. That may or may not be a bad thing, but if you're the average consumer, you don't really want to hear the engine all the time. You kind of want a quiet ride. Overall though, the tire noise and the road noise in general is quite loud. Going over bumps, hitting potholes, just driving through puddles, just moving in general, you're gonna hear a lot of wind and road. Again, that could be a good thing, could be a bad thing. I personally think that all the plastics, the places you touch are good, but the other areas, like up there on the door over here, this is more like a styrofoam. Most of the places you're touching are pretty good. So yeah, that's number 4. I don't really have a 5th thing, because like I said, this car is just so good that it's kind of hard. I guess maybe the 5th thing would be over here in the infotainment. That's kind of old, but then again, it's just the model I got, because you could also get this with navigation. It is very difficult to find, but you could get this with navigation. Overall though, it's such a good car that it's kind of hard to find 5 actual things that are really bad, other than it's very iffy reliability, and it's somewhat of a ticking time bomb, and that's kind of the problem. That's really the biggest fault there, and that's something that if you were to go buy one of these, just keep it in mind. Check the engine. You just check the engine, make sure that the Carfax looks good and the previous owner took care of oil changes, which is the big thing. Anyway guys, that's the end of this video. Please, if you liked it, leave a thumbs up for the algorithm, leave a comment down below. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys next time. Peace.